Hotepu Gatekeepers. Today's video is going to cover giving you all around the world a stroll through a typical exercise that may be assigned to any one of the Golden Beetle shamans who are learning how to become diviners and astrologers using the techniques of the blacks of the Nile Valley of Kemet, ancient Egypt. And I wanted to walk through with you all the analysis of the Titanic, both its launch and the events that, of course, became history. And what I wanted to hopefully help the world to see is how the ancient Kamau, the ancient blacks of Kemet, the gay shamans, really did use their genius to help decode the sky, to understand what's happening on Earth, to bring the unity of the gates of heaven, the spirit world, and the land of the ancestors and the gods, in harmony with the lands of the earth and with human cultures. And so, what you see on your screen here is an image done by an astounding sculptor who carved faces and figurines beneath the sea of the poor slaves, the poor prisoners of war who were killed during the terrorism of the Middle Passage of Terror of the so-called slave trade, but really terrorism from Europe upon the Africans. And this sculptor wanted to make sure that those many lost souls in the ocean were not forgotten. So he used his genius, his gift from Neter, the Supreme Being, to make these wondrous works of art. And so I wish to start by saying to my ancestors and to all the noble African ancestors that I dedicate this podcast to you all, that I will make sure with all the power within me and beyond that your voices are never forgotten, that your journey, what you survived, the terror you endured, will never be forgotten. And may we say, never again shall it occur. So in honor of my ancestors and all those strong, brave souls that withstood the terrorism, I say we love you, we remember you, and we shall always sing your story through this world, through the virtual world, through the spirit world, beyond the end of time. So, what I want to introduce here is that when the gay shamans of the Golden Beetle learn divination or the arts of prophecy, they do so through the study of the shrine of this Neteru, called Ma'a or Tehuti. Ma'a or Tehuti. This is the Lord of Wisdom. It is through this archetype and his rituals that the gay African men become geniuses, become mathematicians, become astronomers, inventors, and scientists, become those who can decode language. This archetype, this god, is so important to black gay men because he is the Lord of the divine answer to every problem. When we honor him and feed him with our rituals and our ceremonies and our dances and our offerings, in return, he gives us epiphany, wisdom, and insight. So his name is Tehuti, and if you look here, his name is written right here, Tehut, and here T, there's a double stroke here, Tehuti, and it says doubly great. Okay? This double stroke and this double symbol for greatness means he is the god of oracles, wisdom, and divination. And what has been lost since the age of the temples of Ra is that you cannot do divination and the highest oracles in the world, bar none, are the African oracles. Nothing can defeat the African oracles. Nor can you do astrology simply by itself. He's called the double measure, Tehuti. The double measure. Or what are the two things he's measuring? Of course, he's balancing all opposites, but it also refers to what you see here in the image. Him as an astrologer with the stars surrounding him, and him as a diviner writing down readings, the records of things written in the handwriting of the Supreme Being. So our students, our shamans, learn how to do astrology readings very technically and combine it with an oracle reading on that chart. So they must learn how to read a chart independently, just by itself. Pure astrology technique. Then they have to also know how to do an oracle on that chart, or on a particular feature or angle or house or sign of that chart. And when you combine the two measures, you get astounding insight. And I hope to show that to you today in our analysis of the Titanic from an African point of view. So, let us begin by just refreshing an image with you here, a bit more of some of the underwater sculptures of the Africans beneath the sea. And to us, just because they've lost their bodies, according to our cosmology and our gay astrology and divination system, you have 9 spirit bodies. 1 is physical. 1 is made of flesh and blood. There are 8 other ones that are non-physical or supra-physical, and they survive the death state. How long they survive and how well, meaning in what level of quality and condition they survive, depends upon the level of rituals you've done while alive. But if you devote yourself to the proper rituals, your other 8 bodies can survive for eternity. So these images are not to us just artistic, they are true. Their spirits live. They are alive. And they shall never be allowed to be forgotten or to die. As long as Africans begin to resurrect the memory of our ancestors, of our journey, of our great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers and great-great-aunts and great-great-uncles, and say, we remember you. That's the beginning of their return. However, as we look at the analysis of the chart of the Titanic, we're going to see, as one poem says, be careful. The dead may not be so dead. So, let's move into that component of the podcast. And I'm going to start with the reading that we got on the Titanic. Recall I showed this figure, this god, Tehuti. Here is god of astrology charts. Here is god of divination. So you first ask the divining side of him. So I asked him to reveal what was the cause, what is the meaning, what is the message of the sinking of the Titanic. And we got some very interesting information. So we'll start there. And the reading talked about 2 things. It talked about timing, about calendars. It was very explicit, telling a story about calendars and time. And it said that the ancestors were masters of time. In particular, the Kemetic ancestors were masters of time. And they knew that all things happen in their time. The gods come and the gods go in their time. So the Titanic was meant to go at the time it left. But that time, that launch moment, what's called in our religion of fractals, the SDIC moment, the sensitive dependent initial conditions. That's an actual phrase, an acronym used, or an abbreviation used in chaos theory, which is our religious base. Sensitive dependent initial conditions. It means basically the butterfly effect. The tiniest beginnings can control an entire system. The beginning is the most important moment. So when the Titanic was launched, that launch was its first voyage across the grand oceans. It was the beginning. And so that moment contained its beginning, its middle, and its end. That moment is what is called in Kemet the Paut, or the Pau, called by the Dogon the Po seed. The Dogon and the Kamau say the beginning of the universe started as an egg or a seed. And in that little seed, the entire universe was already in there. Like in a seed of a tree, the whole tree is in there. Could be a giant redwood and the tiniest of seeds. So in that tiny beginning moment is everything. That's why we say, well begun is halfway done. The first time you made love to your gay lover, that set the tone for all other bonds with that person. The first time you went to a city, let's say you go to Egypt for the first time, you've traveled to Egypt, that first time you arrive, your foot hits the land, will forever affect all other trips to Egypt, all experiences you will have of Egypt. The first time you perhaps went swimming when you were a child, that first moment contains all of the future karmas you're going to have with swimming. That's why we teach people through the Golden Beetle, especially parents. We're developing programs to help parents with gay children, gay babies, very young, that are obviously, they can tell this child is gay, and how to raise them in a loving, supportive, and kind way. And what I tell them is, the first time you see them walk, the first time you hear them talk, the first time they go swimming, any firsts in that child's life, record the time. I tell them, better yet, if you can, for example, the first time they get their hair cut, the first time you cut their nails, the first time they go outside, the first time they go swimming, call the Golden Beetle men first. Call my temple first. Get a timing for it, so we can time it so that forever in this lifetime, all their future haircuts or swimming events or whatever they started will turn out well, because timing is everything. The Giza pyramid is but a giant clock. It's a calendar. They spent billions, trillions of dollars to build a giant calendar of stone. That's how important timing was to the blacks of ancient Kemet. And the gay shamans were pivotal in the designing of these temples and these structures. So, the reading said, here is the message about the Titanic's events. This god Ma'atehuti, the ibis man on the screen here, said, timing is everything, and the gods and those who love the gods can influence the timing of things. It's important what I just added. The gods and they who love the gods, meaning the priests of the gods, will bestow upon their servants the magic of timing. So keep that in the back of your mind as we get more details about the Titanic. So the reading says, behold, he moves elegantly, like he wants to dance with you, as if he wants to dance with you. Behold, he moves elegantly, like he wants to dance with you. But he does not dance with you. He opened his mouth suddenly, like he wants to eat you. He moves elegantly, like he wants to dance with you, but he does not dance with you. He opened his mouth suddenly, like he wants to eat you. When his mouth is whispering, he is using voodoo incantations. Now, this is the reading. So it's talking about the ship of the Titanic moved elegantly. It was supposed to be really a high class, a high-end ship. And It moved through the water as if dancing with the water, as if the water wanted to dance with such a beautiful work of engineering art. But it says, but he, the ocean, does not dance with you. This implies someone luring you to the dance floor that doesn't really want to dance with you. Then it says he opens his mouth suddenly, like he wants to eat you. You see? So the ocean says, come to me, dance with me, although I can't stand you. Come, like a siren, the ocean spirits began to call the Titanic and its passengers to come to the sea. And the sea opened its mouth as if to eat them. This is the reading that we received. And it said that the ocean put guinea peppers in its mouth to give it magic power. Guinea pepper is a hot pepper. This means the spirits of the ocean, the neteru of the ocean, which we call Yamu. Yamu. This spirit heated its breath, heated its mouth, began to speak aggressive chants, fiery chants, vindictive chants, to lure the Titanic's passengers out to sea. And it said, they said father should offer 4 gowns. Well, the gowns implies high-end people, high-class people. And it says, the power of his mouth was indescribable, and the commands that his mouth gave out were immediately carried out. So, the ocean spirits and those that can commune with them began to chant, chant, chant. Look at this image here. You see this ring of ancestors, these rings of ancestors? What they were doing beneath the sea, the dead souls tortured by the white terrorists during the terrorism slave trade that had so many thousands upon thousands of Africans thrown over and drowned and killed and murdered. Their souls survive. Not their bodies, but their souls do. So they actually went under the sea, waited, looking from beneath the waters at the stars above, at timing, and waited, looking from under the waterline until the stars were right, and then they began to conjure African voodoo spells. And these voodoo spells spurred the white people to make the Titanic, to call it the greatest ship in the world, unsinkable. This was done by the oracle of our African gods, that these spirits united beneath the oceans to possess the minds of white industrialists, to build that ship and to launch it at a specific time. And they conjured it to come to the ocean, to dance with the sea, but the sea did not really want to dance with them. So here we're seeing an African subterranean ritual of conjuring. This is pure African revenge voodoo set afoot. Because what the whites did to the Africans in the terrorism, when they used violence and deceit to destroy and genocide the Africans, was a crime against humanity. It was a sin beyond sins. So it had to be dealt with. The score had to be settled. So these spirits here beneath the sea said, we shall get you. Our revenge shall be absolute and exacting. These spirits began praying, you see them praying here, to the sky gods to bring them the vision of revenge. And so the Titanic was compelled to launch at a certain moment, which we're going to go into now, because that moment was very, very deadly. Finally, the text says, the ocean went and gathered the hot guinea peppers for his mouth, and he became wealthy. How did our father receive this money? In those days, he had a voodoo medicine that he was using, How did Father beget these children? In those days, he had voodoo medicines that he was using. The gods say, the people beneath the sea have voodoo medicines. And the gods say, the time has come to use it. Guinea pepper, we beneath the sea eat lots of guinea pepper eagerly. The gods of Africa have spoken, and the gods say it must be so, and the gods ordain it. Okay, so now we go into understanding this time. So we're going to start with this image here of a snapshot of the sky at the launch of the Titanic and what the planets and stars look like. So I'm going to layer this exercise with you one level at a time. In Africa, we did what was called ujati anu, ujati unu. Ujati unu means looking at the sky, an astronomer who watches the sky, what you may call observational astronomy. So we look at the sky, actually how it appears to our two eyes, not on a piece of paper, not a chart, but the actual sky, and we start to look for a storyline. So this is the sky at the launch of the Titanic across its journey to the Americas. Let's take a glance. The first thing we look at, we see that this south, this letter S means south, meaning culmination. This is the high, if you draw a line from here to the top of the screen, you'll see that is the south, or culminating, the highest point of anything in the sky. So here we see the sun was at true noon, more or less. The sun was culminating, so it's very powerful. So the sun is the king. So this means that on the Titanic there were kings, powerful people, leaders, movers and shakers, lords of industry, the rich and the famous of that time. Felt, well, we are so rich, we are so powerful, we should be the first on this great voyage of the world's greatest ship, the largest and most powerful luxurious ship to date. So there's a kind of arrogance that's at the top of the storyline, a kind of cockiness and superiority complex that the sun is the sign in astrology, the sun is the symbol on the dark side of an arrogant, cocky, uppity type person. The elite, the aristocracy, the royals, those who think they're better than everybody else. So that's at the top of the storyline. But look, the sun is caught between the cord of the fish. It's right between them. So this implies a theme of very powerful, rich, successful people who shall become trapped. They shall be caught and locked into something. Not a good omen. Okay? Okay. Then we have Mercury here, what we call Sepku, the trickster. The trickster is sitting in the front hoof of the ram. So the trickster, Sebek, Mercury, deals with technology and communications. And you see here the ram, which is the god of war or impatience. The ram is what we call Mahus, or you call Aries in the white astrology. Here we have visually, not on a chart, but with our two eyes in the sky, the lord of communication being impulsive, being arrogant, being quick and not precise. And as you may well know, that the captain of the ship told the engine people to push the ship faster, or the captain agreed to make the ship go faster than it should have gone, and it began to make the engines have problems, and it also was a key component as to why they couldn't turn the ship away from the iceberg in time. They had too much momentum. Had they been going slower from the get-go, as opposed to trying to rush their trip across the ocean to prove how fast this ship is, an act of arrogance, white man's arrogance, they had such fast momentum they couldn't turn the ship away from the iceberg in time. So the ram is a god of destruction and war through communication through words. Again, not a good symbol, not a good signal. Then we have here the planet Rukapet or Saturn at the tail of the ram or in the belly of the bull. So Saturn also deals with people of power, leaders, important people. And what it's showing here is it's in a part of the sky where it's either the tail end of an animal or the belly of an animal that's not complete. That they won't make it to the end. They won't make it to the tail end. The voyage will not be completed. No matter how much money you have or how rich you are, this is implying you're not going to finish the trip. And more dangerously, you see here, this figure here, it's called Cetus. Cetus, and I can put on the name so you can see here. It's maybe a bit too noisy on the screen. We have Cetus, Aries, the bull, but I'll remove that because the screen's a little bit too loud there. Cetus is called the sea monster, the kraken. In the Dendera zodiac, it's shown as a lion-headed goddess named Sekhmet. Yes? These stars are evil. They are absolutely evil, and these stars were very active during the white people's terrorism of Africa. These stars were very predominant in aligning with the equinox, every spring equinox, for the age of the times. It's called the age of the bull, or the age of the ram. Well, these stars were very active. When white terrorists decided to, through greed, murder millions of innocent Africans, these stars were beaming upon the white man's mind. These stars are evil. There's no way around it. So you see here, we have this demon beneath the sea, this kraken monster. His gaze is staring at Saturn. This is an important astrological dynamic. Any planet around this part of the sky, in your chart or anyone else's chart, here, is in the death gaze of the demon beneath the sea. He has his eye on you. So the fact that this demon was staring at Harukapet Saturn, which owns powerful, important people, it owns engineering, meaning structure and strength, and it's the god of endurance. Saturn owns long-lasting things, things that endure. But this demon says, I have my eye on your endurance. You're not going to survive. You will not endure. Your longevity, I curse. So this is the part of the sky that brings curses to humanity. Okay? Then we move over here to Herkohuti. What we call Herkohuti in our system is Mars. Look, he is radiating, or he's near the visual area. Now, you couldn't see Pluto in the old days, but we're going to use it anyway for our purposes because I found it works. He's right near the planet Pluto, or Hades, in the Greek system. He's the lord of hell. So here we have the god of speed, iron, and accidents. He's a death dealer. He's the war god, the man of war, beneath the lord of hell. Are you getting a clear picture of the timing of this moment? Not only that, Pluto we call Set, the god of evil. Pluto, or Set, is right in the club of Orion. This implies a banging or a hitting, for a club is meant to hit. So you have the war god, his more vicious, deeper side of war called plutonic energies. They're both flanking a weapon of impact. The story's getting more and more horrific, correct? Over here we have new Neptune in the stars of Pollux, the two twins. Well, Pollux is the evil twin. This is Castor higher up, more northly. More southerly is Pollux, and there's his star, Pollux. So Pollux is the evil twin, and Pollux brings growth through trials. You grow through the hard life. Neptune, who's the lord of the seas, we call Nu, is in the arm of the evil twin. So the lord of the seven seas is in a tricky and evil ocean, an ocean because the twins of Gemini we call Apwat, the trickster stars. This means whatever planet around here like to play tricks, because this is the trickster, the deceiver. So the Lord of the Seas, which you want to know about if you're going in a boat, what is the Lord of the Seas doing? He's playing with the evil twin, meaning I'm going to trick you in an evil way. I'm going to make you go faster. I'm going to make you think you're a god and that you're untouchable and that you're God's gift to the world because you're a white male. I'm going to make you not see this iceberg in time. I'm going to make sure your communications are confused because Neptune is the god of confusing things, making things not quite clear, kind of watery and murky, and make sure that you don't communicate in a good way. So, in the Dendera zodiac, Pollux is shown as a lion-headed goddess named Tefnut. And Tefnut is a lion. It wants to eat you. So Pollux is a lion or lioness who's a great hunter. The lionesses, the female lions, are the better hunters. The god of the open seven seas says, I want to hunt you, and I'm going to stalk you quietly until I eat you. Remember the story said, he opens his mouth suddenly like he wants to eat you. Okay? So we have the god of the seas deceiving this boat so he may eat it like a lioness. We have the gods of war and hell uniting together in the sky, joining their forces to Herkohuti Mars owns sharp objects, things that cut and slice like an iceberg. So the god of cutting and the gods of hell, a deep dark place like the depths of the water, uniting around a club or an impact tool. We have the god of longevity and of uppity up people being stared at by the demon of the depths in an area of unfinished accomplishment. We have communicator communicating too fastly and without care. We have powerful people trapped between some kind of barrier, entrapped. We have here Benos Arvinus, who owns all ships. When we do an astrology reading, you want to find out what is the main theme of the reading. If it's your marriage or your money or a boat or a vehicle of transportation, that would be Benos Arvinus. So you want to be very careful when you watch yourself going into boats. This could be a cruise or anything. What is Benos Arvinus doing? Well, look, it's being struck by the tail of the demon. The god of boats, Benos Arvinus, is being whipped, struck by the tail of the demon of the depths. Then we come over here to Uranus. Inside of here, the goatfish of Capricorn, I'll show you the names. You see Aquarius is here, and this here is Capricornus, the goatfish Capricorn. Okay. Here is the ear, the horns, the face of the goat. And so the goat here is a goat fish. Goat fish, meaning he comes from the depths. And in ancient lore, the goat fish, Capricornus, or Capricorn, was called the gate of the souls. That souls would leave their body in order to return to the spirit world, the ancestors, through the gate of Capricorn. So there's a hint here that there's a gate opening back to the ancestors, back to the dead, because Saturn and Capricorn can own the dead. They can own the ancestors, the ancient histories. So Uranus means a sudden, shocking event. Here we have Uranus meaning some shocking force from the sea will arise to bring you back to the land of the ancestors, to the land of the gate of death. In fact, I have the text here. It says that Capricornus was called the gate of the gods, where souls released from corporeity ascended to the heavens through its stars. Uranus brings a sudden, shocking event, totally unexpected, that will bring these souls back to the gods, meaning you're going to die or face death. Then we have the all-important moon in this chart, as we'll see. The moon has a lot to say in the Titanic. The moon is on the rump of Sagittarius. Here you can see his bow, his face, his arms, his flying cape. Here's the centaur horse here. So, again, notice the moon is on the back of the animal, much like we saw here. Where was that? Here. Saturn on the back of backs of animals. How pleasant is the back part of an animal? It's not the most pleasant view of a creature. So here we have the moon, the all-powerful moon in this chart, right near the, well, shall we say, the anus of the horse. As if the moon is going through a very rough time, let's put it that way. A very unpleasant time. As if the moon is being defecated out of this horse. Now, horses are known for their speed, horsepower, their strength, and their speed, like the Titanic. But this is saying that the powers of the horsepower of the Titanic, so to speak, is not what it appears to be. There's something foul about it. There's something smelly about it. There's something dirty going on here. Okay? And then finally down here we see the planet Tehuti Apshetataui, or Jupiter. Look where he is. He's in the legs of a scorpion. Here's a scorpion right here. Here's his stinger. Again, this Jupiter is towards the back of the scorpion. So we have this theme of the back of something. We can read this as going back to something. Backing up to something. Going back in time. Going back to when the white terrorists went across the seas murdering Africans. Let's go back to that time. Because many of the major planets are at the back of animals. When the white terrorists were possessed by animal consciousness, beast mind. Let's go back to that. Oftentimes, white people want to forget about what they've done to peoples of color around the world through history. But just because white people make nice toasters and nice computers and nice airplanes doesn't erase the fact that those things were built in the blood of the Native Americans and the Africans that they murdered to get that money, get that gold, get those lands to build their white world. But this chart is saying, no, 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 no. We're going to back it up through history, and now you're going to pay for what you've done back in the past. You see? We're looking for patterns. The golden beetle gay shamans of Kemet learn to look for overarching patterns, looking for storylines, for myths or tales that the sky story is telling us. Also here, look, Jupiter, which is the god of luck and grace and salvation, is in the scorpion's back legs, about to get stung. So their luck, their hope, their faith is not going to avail them at this time. And the scorpion is the sign in African astrology of voodooists, of witchcraft and voodoo. So the luck is being paralyzed by this scorpion's voodoo. And here we have Ophiuchus. You can see maybe part of his body here. He's holding between his legs here a long snake. A snake. Ophiuchus is called the serpent bearer or the healer. And this is the dangerous part of the sky. And he basically has his foot on Jupiter, meaning he's going to put his foot on the neck of the luck of these people. Their luck won't avail them. Their money, Jupiter is the great benefic, the lord of great wealth. Bankers and the money of entire countries are ruled by Ma'a, Jupiter. But he's saying that money that bought you a ticket on this ship was your poison. All the wealth that allowed you to afford first class on this death ship, that money is now going to kill you. The way you killed we Africans for money, now your money will kill you. You see, we're taking the back past and bringing it back to the present. It's called karma. What you did to these Africans will now be done to the finest of your own. And that the white terrorists were greedy. And that was the impetus for the terrorism trade in Africans to grow cotton, to harvest sugar, for work. It was just disgusting. But it was all greed-induced. And from the backs and the blood of African men, women, and children, the rich people on the Titanic were able to afford first class. But that was blood money. So now this is saying, well, your luck and your money won't help you now. We got you. We catch you in the scorpion's arms, and we put our foot on your neck. What's important about this video, you've never heard astrology from a black point of view. Many astrologers are racists. Some deliberately, most not so. But that doesn't excuse the fact. Many white astrologers say that astrology and math and science started in Greece and they began everything, not understanding that Plato and Socrates spent 20, 30 years of their life in Alexandria, Africa, in Kemet. And when they went to Kemet and learned from all the books in the great library of Alexandria, they all of a sudden have a Greek miracle, a Greek burst of so-called intelligence or Greek philosophy. No, it was African philosophy brought to Greece. Socrates was executed because he brought African thoughts to Greece. The Greeks didn't want it. It wasn't theirs. So they tried Socrates and had him executed for bringing foreign, I'm going to say it again, foreign ideas to mainland Greece. So how could it have begun in Greece if the Greeks killed Socrates, who brought the so-called Greek knowledge? So a lot of astrologers buy into this, what I call diet racism, where they're not really racist, but they're kind of sort of racist. That's like, to me, being a little bit pregnant. So you're not going to find anywhere in the world a conversation on an event like the Titanic from an African point of view, because white astrologers think only of the white point of view. And even Vedic astrologers need to understand that Vedic astrology is actually Aryan astrology. That in South India there were blacks. It was called Indus Kush. India, Ethiopia. Kush means Ethiopia. Ethiopia's in Africa. The great beautiful Iman, the model, is from Somalia, which was called Kush. So we had Kush Africa and Indus Kush. Both were part of the Kush Empire, the blacks of South India called the Dravidians. And the white invaders came from the north, brutalized the dark-skinned Africans in South India in the Mohenjo-Daro and Harappan civilizations, where Tantra was born, applied apartheid called the caste system, the Indian caste system of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishnavas, and the other one, I'm forgetting the merchants, the Shudras, the slaves. Shudra means black, like soot. Shudra, soot colored. Then the white Aryans stole parts of the Dravidian Tantra traditions and made the Vedic system. So if you practice Vedic astrology, that really is a version of Aryan, African, Indian astrology. Just read a few books on this. It's not hard to, what I'm saying is not hard to find. It's just not talked about. So even Vedic astrology is actually Aryanized astrology. It's Aryan astrology with Indian strains, Hindu strains, Dravidian Black African strains. You see? And the Vedic astrology has forgotten, like what I'm doing right now. This is true African astrology, looking at the sky and other components. So here we're saying your luck will avail you not, prayers won't work, we're going to sting you now. Okay? So that's our storyline. Things backing up, sudden eruptors from the ocean, from Uranus, the god of boats being struck by the demon of the depths, the golden people of the sun, the rich, powerful people, are going to be trapped. Communications will be hasty and not thought out. The powerful people and longevity shall be eclipsed and not complete. War from beneath the sea. Pluto are things from the spirit world, the underworld, the beneath the physical world, right? So, first of all, an iceberg is beneath the sea. Its more dangerous parts definitely are. So, danger from below Pluto. And also, Pluto or Bennu or Set would be the dead, rising from underneath their realm to strike. And we have the god of ocean playing tricks with an evil twin. Okay? So you get the story. Now, we're going to shift gears now from the visual side to the chart side. So now I'm going to pull up a chart on this event, and here we have it here. Here we have an astrology wheel calculated for the launch of the Titanic, and this part may get a bit technical if you don't have much astrology base, but I wanted to give you all, whether you're a beginner or middle astrology student or an advanced student, all of you something that you can bite into. And what you're seeing here are two wheels, two large wheels. This inner wheel has the planets that go this way. Their houses are house 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going counterclockwise. And here we have the planets, Nu and Herkuhuti, and the south node, the Cobra, Jupiter, Ma'a, etc. And the outer wheel are the fixed stars that conjunct the planets. Okay? So, the first thing we have to notice is the rising sign called ascendant. The ascendant in our gay astrology system tells you about the beginning of something. And the ascendant is what we call the overlord. It is the lord of the entire chart. What it does has a lot of pull to all the other houses. Because the beginning is all powerful, the SDIC, the sensitive dependent initial condition. So this house, in particular this degree, is initiating the whole chart's layout. Therefore, he has a lot of power. Okay? And so its sign has a lot of power. This is the beetle, which you may know as Cancer. This is a Cancer chart, Cancer rising. This means it rising, ascending. And there is a myth that goes with this beetle. And it says, this area of the sky is ruled by the god Hurukapet, Saturn. And this area of the sky brings materialism And the divine image is a hand grasping gold pieces, some of which are falling through the fingers, and talks about people that esteem money over humanity. They turn money into a religion. Their friends are only the friends of wealth, and the Titanic was very stratified socially. The social classes were so stratified on that ship. If you weren't rich, you were in steerage. Much like they treated the slaves. The way that people in steerage and the lower class people in the Titanic were treated was self-similar to how whites treated blacks during the terrorism voyage, the terrorism trade. So basically it says this area of the sky, this is the chart's beginning. What is initiating this launch? What is the spirit that's initiating this event? Materialism. That the white people in their arrogance said this is the biggest and baddest ship ever made, and we're going to show it. It came from an arrogant, hubris point of view. A hand grasping gold pieces, because we are the most powerful race on earth. Then it says some of which are falling through the fingers, meaning your money won't help you here. That same theme is repeating now. Not only in the visual chart, as we saw here, that your luck is in the scorpion's claw, it's not going to help you. It's also being shown here in the astrology wheel. Okay? So, you want to look at this chart, the beginning. The sign rising is called Cancer, the beetle. The lord of Cancer is the moon. The moon rules Cancer. So you want to see where the moon go. The moon went to the 8th house here. The moon, lord of the first, we say the spirit of the first is visiting the spirit of the 8th. The 8th is the most horrific house in astrology. It's very dangerous. It is the sign of the scorpion, the house of the scorpion spirit. The 8th house owns destruction, death, plague, locusts, scandal, horror, terror, demons, monsters, ghouls, and ancestors, the dead. So the spirit of this event moved to the house of the dead. That has two meanings. The dead will speak at this event. They will make their voice known, and those on the ship shall die. If nothing else makes the Titanic voyage clear, it's this. The spirit of the entire event went to visit the spirits of death in the dreaded 8th house. And it's in the moon, the lord of the first is in the sign of 1 degrees of the water bearer. The water bearer means groups. So here we have a group of dead ancestors en masse, a posse of these people, a group of them uniting spiritually and psychically, because the 8th house deals with all things mystical, metaphysical, occult, and mysterious. So we have here these spirits using occult powers, uniting as occult spirit beings as a group to summon their enemies back to the ocean. Because if they had to die in the terrorism passage, then if the Africans had to die for the whites in the terrorism passage, now the whites must repeat that history, back up to that history, and experience what they've dished out, to take what they've dished out. You see? Chiron here happens to be in this sign, this house, implying wounded people, wounded forces. So if basically they're saying if you wounded us back in the terrorism passage, we're going to wound you back. Okay? The other thing to notice here is 2929. Ra the sun and Nekabu, the vulture, called the north node, are in the exact same degree. Oh, and one more thing, I'm so sorry. Notice that here, Khonsu is in 1 degree. Yes? 1 degree. When a planet is in that early of a degree, it's very weak. It's just very weak. So the spirit of the chart, the spirit of the event, the launching of this ship is weak. It's weak and it's death-oriented, it's deranged, and it's full of difficulties. You never want the lord of a chart to be in a weak degree like this, because the event just can't stand up. It's just too nascent. It's just too weak. Then we have here the sun conjunct Ra, the sun conjunct the vulture. The vulture in Kemet, the north node, is a spirit of great witchcraft. The vulture, the nodes in African astrology deal with voodoo. The nodes tell you voodoo must be used here. No force that you know will fix where the nodes are unless it's a magical force. If you don't use voodoo, you can't deal with the nodes, because they are the line of voodoo. And the node, the north node, is called also in Kemet Mut. Mut or Mitu. You can say it several ways. Mut or Mot. Mut means mother. Mot means death, where the word mort comes from in Latin. Mortuary. Mort in French. Yes, death. Mot. So the sun is conjunct in the same degree, so tight. The vulture of death. This does not look good. And remember, the sun, we said before, was at true noon. It was high up. So the storyline is about rich, powerful, successful people. But you can't see it here. It only shows in the chart. All those people are in the same space as Mot, death. So this was a doomed voyage. Absolutely doomed. Okay? Then we see here, Harukapet Saturn, longevity and endurance, is in the Ram of Aries, which means it's debilitated. Okay? This means we say, the planet shall fall from a height. The word we use in Egyptian astrology is geru, geru, geru. It means you shall fall from a height. So this great mighty boat shall fall from a height. These powerful rich white people shall fall from a height. The longevity and endurance of this ship shall fall from a great hyped up height. You see? So we're just looking at where things are located, and we're seeing big problems here. Okay? Now, what I want to go into now, and I'm going to try to, this gets a bit involved, a bit technical, but I want to run through it and hopefully inspire a few of the more advanced astrologers with some of the concepts of the gay astrology of the Blacks of the Nile. First of all, at the time of the launch, here, both the sun and the moon, Ra and Khonsu, were going what's called north. They were going in northern declination, meaning we're going towards summer, basically. Okay? When the lights, the sun and moon, are going towards the summer stage of the year, there are certain direction that the sun is moving towards the north, and the moon was also at the same time going towards its northern direction. When the lights move north, in our system, it is bad luck to go west. Okay? If the lights, the sun and moon, are going towards the summer time of the year, this is in April, around April this launched, so that's April, heading towards May, then June, summer. It's heading towards summer. When the sun and moon head towards summer, it is what's called west, which is where the Titanic was going. The west direction is called the direction of death if the sun and moon are going north. Again, a death omen. Okay? Now, in this month, the moon, the cycle of the moon, was in a star that we call, let me see here, it is in a star that we call Dwamutev or Dwamatev. Dwamatev. It's a glyph of a man holding a spear targeting something. So the full moon at this time of the year was in the sign of the spearing man called Anmutev. And this man also is the spirit inside of buffaloes or bulls. What are bulls most known for besides their strength? Their horns. So this implies that the moon spirits were going to ram with their horn this ship. That's the iceberg. Absolutely iceberg. And each of these planets I'm discussing affect people's what we call aritu, or their chakras. So this part of the moon deals with the sexual chakra, what we call the sexual chamber. Arit means hall. And so all the people on the ship were influenced by this god Anmatev, or Dwamatev, to unite with a spearing event. It was part of their karma that the gods of the sky and of time possessed the sexual chakras of all the passengers who had the karma to be speared by the moon. And the moon represents memory in the past. Okay? Now, it just so happens that at this time, the moon was in a sign that we call Basa. Basa means burnt up, just a flame. The water bearer for this cycle, and I'm giving you very complicated techniques without explaining them very much in detail, but just trust me. At this cycle, the water bearer sign is Basa. It burns things up. It's going to reduce a thing to its lowest form. You see? And so we see here the end of something. And then on the lunar cycle, this was the 11th birthday of the moon. It's called the birthday of the moon of Khonsu. It was also burnt. And that this the lunar day tells you how much, we call it the Sachai. The Sachai is called pain. There's a calculation I teach to tell you what each lunar day does to you, does to your sexual chakra, and what to the gate or the arit of the sexual chakra. And what it does is it brings pain that day. Okay? Then we have something of the root chakra of all the passengers on the ship and the company people that launched it. The root chakra, which we call the Sariapwat. Sariapwat. This tells you, will you be compelled to take actions that bring out the good in the situation or bring out the worst? The Sariapwat, or the root chakra part of the chart, which is Ra the sun here, and again I'm describing calculations without giving you the definitions, but just have to trust me, this is what they learn in class, that the root chakra energy, the sun, is damaged He's in a weak degree. He's conjunct the god of death, you see, and he is receiving some other things in the chart that harm him. So what that means is that people will take, especially leaders, because the sun is leaders, people will take the wrong actions that will end up sabotaging the event. The root chakras will glitch and cause you to make a lot of mistakes that you will regret. The star that this was in, what we call the Siaruj, the name of that star is Anher. It's a water pot with two legs and the glyph for heaven. So somebody walking into water by the call of heaven. And the lord of this particular star is Khonsu, the very damaged moon. So you're walking into dangerous waters. The water pot is going to try to destroy you, walk you into your destruction. Then we have something called the Domum, which links a lot to the throat chakra. And the Domum tells you basically why these people have joined. It's the reason for the event, the reason for the gathering. And when it's damaged, when this part of the chart is damaged, the throat chakra disrupts. So all the people on the ship had a deranged throat chakra, which also was ruled by Ra, the damaged sun conjunct Lord of Death. So these people were drawn like a magnet to this event by their deranged throat chakras to experience death. Then we have the solar plexus chakra, which is ruled by Benu-Osar here, Venus, who's exalted in the 9th, which is quite lucky. The solar plexus chakra, yes, is what we call the Nkotahehe. Nkotahehe. And the Nkotahehe of the chart happens to be Venus Benu-Osar in this chart. But the thing about the calculation that I'm not going to explain, but just mention, if Benu-Osar Venus here is the Nkotahehe of the chart, the Nkotahehe tells you, does this thing have enough strength to succeed? Is there longevity here? Can this project carry on despite what comes, despite what may? The Nkotahehe, Nkota means strength, Hehe means eternal. Is there strength for this event or this project to soldier on no matter what happens? So the lord of Nkotahehe is Benu-Osar Venus. But if Benu-Osar Venus is in Nkotahehe, it picks up what's called a death spear in the west. So if Benu-Osar Venus is in Nkotahehe and you travel west when Benu-Osar is in Nkotahehe, you're going to meet Venus's death spear. You see, boding ill. Therefore, the longevity shall be speared by Venus. Okay? So we're seeing things are burnt here. There are spears here. There are death directions going on here. It's just really the pain from the Sachai, from the sexual chakra, that the people have come to enjoy pain, which is a strange way of putting it. So let's see here. Then we have a few more notes. There's something called the Sianfura, which means the maker of beauty, the luck maker. Okay? And the luck maker is called the Motu, the dead, the ancestors. Listen, you never want to travel when the Sianfura is the Motu, or the Shepsu, the ancestors. Because that means whatever you're going to do, the Sinfura means the bringer of luck. You see? It is the cause of happiness. What will make this event happy? the specific thing that'll make it happy. If the Cianfura is damaged, you will have no cause of happiness. There will be no cause of happiness. So the Cianfura is called the Sheps, the ancestors, the Motu. When you have the Cianfura as the cause of happiness, that means you're going to go meet your ancestors. You're going to die. Or you're going to get close to the dead. This project will die. People will die. The results will end up dying away. Somehow it's trying to get back to the ancestors, and that's not a good thing. Then we have something called the Aruk Aruk. The Aruk Aruk, which means the finale or the final result of this. And the Aruk Aruk deals with the god of books, Sasha, or Seshu, the god of scribes and books and teaching. Okay? Now, the Aruk Aruk is the final result of the entire event. No matter what goes down, it will end up like this. The Aruk Aruk belongs to Ra, and there's a star called the Star of Ra, and this star deals with healing and medicine. And the Aruk Aruk says it belongs to the god Sasha, or Sesha, the god of scribes. So the finale of this event will be education. A lesson shall be taught, and a lesson shall be learned. Now you only have the god of healing when you're sick or there's damage. Disease and damage. That's when you need the healing, right? So this is not a good sign. I'm just going on and on, it seems, about just how the omens of this were not good for a ship sailing, but it was great for the revenge of the black African ancestors who were thrown overboard by the terrorists of Europe. Okay? Now, also notice that here, where can we find it? Ma'a Jupiter, who was the one between the legs of the scorpion down here, the luck being crushed. Well, in the wheel, you see he's retrograde. Never start an important voyage on a retrograde Ma'a Jupiter. Don't do it. What will happen is that you will start the voyage for one agenda, but it will flip to a whole other issue. The reason or the motivation or the inspiration for the event will derail into some other meaning, because Ma'a Jupiter brings meaning to life. So for example, the Titanic's intent was to be the world's greatest, most fantastic ship. That was its stated original mission. But you see how that's not what it became known for in history. That mission got derailed and became the story of a horrible tragedy of this ship sailing. Yes? So, the Titanic, its purpose had no strength because of the retrograde. That tells you immediately, whatever you think you're going to do here will not be what it's going to end up becoming. Okay? Alright. Also, we have Sebek retrograde. Where is he? Mercury. Here he is. Retrograde. You don't start important travels during a retrograde Mercury. Yes? Because things will discombobulate. Things will just not go clearly and properly. Okay? So, let's see our few more notes here. There is something called the angry gay witch doctor. This is a point on the compass where the vicious gay witch doctor sits, conjuring in his cauldron, in his voodoo pots. Okay? And this, according to calculations that I can't reveal right now because it's too involved, but the West, the angry gay witch doctor, was conjuring furiously in the West at the time of the launch. So anything traveling in the west at that time would anger even more this witch doctor, who will then unleash from his voodoo pots a curse upon those who bother him. This is an absolute mathematical calculation that we do. If you take an air flight and you're flying into the angry gay witch doctor, I would not trust that flight. If you're driving in his direction, I would not trust that trip. I've done this for years, and people that didn't believe me had tires bust, forgot their wallet, got their car jacked. It's just not smart. Okay? All right. Then we take a look at the final parts of this, some of the fixed stars involved here. I want to cover some of the fixed stars. The fixed stars of the moon deal with, let us see here, I discussed materialism. Yes. And the moon was in an area of the sky of Altair, the eagle. And there's a star in here that's called the lame one who limps. So this moon here had a link to the stars of Altair, which we can't. Here, Altair. This is Altair here. There is a line of connection from this point angling to the moon. Okay? And so Altair means imperial, the royal eagle, the imperial thought. It also means cockiness. And it can imply, there's in our system a meaning of it that means to be lame or to limp. This means the ship is going to limp. It's going to be struck. Okay? And there was a saying in our calendar for the day the ship launched. We have certain verses that go for each day of our calendar, just these pat verses that control the day. And the one that reads for the Titanic's launch time, it says, active flowing, water shall overflow. Then it says, not leaning to one side nor to the other side. Talks about a leaning of a ship overflowing. The water element is concerned with contentions, litigations. All the honors shall be made in ritual and ceremony. This is what we, every day of the year has these fixed poems we read. They don't change. They go to each calendar day. This one just so happened to talk about overflowing water, things leaning, contention and litigation, and rituals beneath the sea. And it showed an animal baring its teeth. That's the symbol for that particular day. Okay? So, I could go into more about this, and I think I will cover only one more part just to make this point crystal clear, that we look at the heliacal rising stars of the day, and we look at only now 3 planets, the outer planets of Bess Uranus, Nu Neptune, and Bennu Pluto. Bess Uranus, which you saw here, links with the star Spica, the star Ras Algethii, and Saldamalek. And this best tells you the public opinion of the time. So it means that people want to be inspired by an idea or action, a sudden upset in the political balance of power, an optimistic outlook, people believing in luck. So the public opinion was, we want to be inspired by our great whiteness of technology, but something shall suddenly upset the political balance of power, and your optimism will not be founded. The planet Nu shows the hopes and fears of the kingdom, and the planet Nu, Neptune over here, had a certain star relationship to Al-Nilam in Orion's belt, and Alcyon in the bull. And the hopes and fears of the kingdom were: relationships shall be dissolved, and the group shall be disbanded. Neptune, the water god, said, I will disband groups. Some will survive, some will not. Some will sink with the ship, some will get into lifeboats. And Alcyone says, a harsh judgment on those in need. So the boat company shall be judged harshly. People had to live with how they judged people of lower classes. And finally, the planet Pluto, Bennu, shows the crisis or the changes that occur on that day. And this star was linked to Acumen in the Scorpion, Phaseus in the Archer, and Sualocin in the Dolphin. Meaning, the sting of the Scorpion, the crisis that will, or changes that will occur, shall be brought through Pluto, the god of hell, through the sting of a scorpion, and what appears to be powerful shall now be shown to be weak. Phaseus says, I shall bring the end of an error and the start of a new one. And Sualocin, the dolphin, says, you shall be taken by surprise, because dolphins always appear by surprise. So over and over and over, from the African analysis, we see that the Africans opened their mouths beneath the sea, calling the white people who became rich and powerful enough to build this monstrosity of a boat out of hubris and arrogance, to come back to the sea where their foreparents murdered Africans, and now they must experience the cold, watery death that their ancestors, their white terrorist ancestors, sent upon the Africans. This was but a simple and quick analysis of this chart. I could go into much more about it. Perhaps I'll do a workshop on it or a lecture on it. But I wanted you in the end to see, although the whites think, many of them think, that their world cannot be destroyed, that they're all that in a bag of chips, and every other race, people of color, are but savage barbarians. The Titanic is, from our sacred gay astrology science, that our African magic, that the gods rule, not humans. So what I'm saying is the moral of the story, called the ma'ut of the story, the ma'ut, the moral. We black people should go back to our old ways and bring them to life for the modern time. We are Africans, proud to be African, but to be African means to honor the culture that your great-great-grandmammy and grandpappy built for us over how many millennia? Countless. And they had their own gods with their own names and their rituals and their own calendars and own ceremonies. This African American thing, I don't see the African part of it. People in America say they're African American, and I have a hard time finding the African part. You dress, the blacks, my brothers and sisters, dress mostly like white people and talk like white people and have the white people's language and the white people's religion and the white people's interests. Where's the Africa part of African American? We had a full culture before we were terrorized and raped and genocided by the white terrorists. We had our own culture, our own astrology, our own gods, our own languages. And that's our strength. Voodoo, magic of our gods. And no one will respect black people as long as we keep acting according to the white culture. How can you be respected when you turn your back on your very own kin? Many Asians that come to America don't forget that they're Asian. They don't spit upon their ancestors. Many white Europeans that come here don't forget that they came from Italy or from Norway or from Italy or from England. They don't spit upon their ancestors. But we blacks, kaput, 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 spitting all over our ancient great-grandmothers, great-great-great-grandfathers. So how can anyone else respect us as a black people when we're so silly. So, in the end, my hope with this video, besides giving people a bit of a taste of the power of gay astrology from Kemet, I've just touched the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, in this video. Each people should respect their roots. Native Americans should respect and honor the Native American ancestral spirits. White people should respect their ancestral roots. Australian Aborigines should respect and honor and never turn their back on their roots. I say it's fair for all people to do this. That includes my people, which includes voodoo and ceremony and African ways. They're so beautiful. I wish all the blacks could go back to traditional Africa places on the continent. It's beautiful, and you will feel so at home. You just feel right as rain. Something in you will just feel right. And the land of Africa, the actual soil, you can almost feel the magic. You can feel hundreds of thousands upon thousands of years of rituals. It's palpable. Unfortunately, many Africans are turning to white religions or to Arabic religions, abandoning their ancestor religions. This is so humiliating and embarrassing. Go home. Bring home back to America. Stay rooted. How can you grow as a tree without the roots? So, may the astrology of my ancestors, the gay Africans, because many black people, and I'm going to read them now, many black so-called spiritual people in the African movement like to pretend that gay people don't exist in Africa and never did. Well, they're idiots. They should read a book, do a little science research on the gayness of animals in nature, because if it's in nature, it must be natural, i.e. natural. So I've met many idiotic black people in the movement of the revival of African traditions in America. But they can have the illusion all they want that gay people didn't exist in Africa. But I'm here to tell you, we did. We're back. How about this? We're here. We're queer. Get used to it. So, may the ancestors rise up from the depths. May their voices be in the wind and in the hearts and minds of their African children. And may we as an African people say, never again shall we be terrorized by terrorists like that. And may our gods and our voodoo and our magic come from the depths of the sea back to avenge our enemies, protect our children, and build our world in our own image. This is my heartfelt prayer from heaven through my ancestors to me and back on to the world. May each group shine from the roots up. Dwawend Hotepu.